So, what are use cases? Use cases are description of interaction between users and systems. In our daily world, in our daily day, we actually interact with so many systems. That would be our online websites or mobile applications or physical systems like ATMs, kiosks, and whatever may be. We interact with so many systems. So when the user interacts with these systems, he actually wants some job to get accomplished. So use cases describes how these kind of interactions with the systems, between the systems and the users. So use cases are process driven in the sense it shows a flow of steps, the sequence of steps that the user need to follow, or what are the sequence of the steps that user follows to get an output. For example, if you want to shop on online website, that would be a Flipkart or Amazon, there are the user needs to do few things. He has to register an account, he has to create an account, then he goes and search what is needed, and then he selects the item that he wants to buy, he adds to the cart, and then he finally checks to the bill payment. So there are sequence of steps. There is a process to in order to buy an item on an online website. So it's a process driven and goal centric. When you're interacting with any system, you want to achieve a specific goal. It means that some of your job need to be accomplished when you're interacting with the system. For me, as an YouTube creator, I want to create, my goal is to create the content so that it is accessible to many of the students over there. As an online viewer, for you, the goal would be to search the content you need and gain the knowledge from that particular video. So it's like, it's a goal centric and user focused. Use cases are always written from the user point of view. It says that what user needs in order to achieve this. So how the system should be designed so that the user gets a desired output from that system. So use cases. So when do we now usually you write use cases? Use cases are mostly driven when you are mostly written when you're building user-centric systems, user-driven systems like our ATM machines or online websites and any ERP system that our user is interacting. So use cases are basically written in user-driven systems. For any data driven kind of a systems, if you're developing for any data driven system, maybe the use cases might not be that useful in those scenarios. So there are different components in an use case. That would be use case ID. We see all these things in detail in the template when we are going through the template of the use case. Use case ID. The first one is, as we already know, when we build a BRD or functional requirement document, we give it should be in line with when we are building a business requirement document, every requirement has an ID, and that in turn falls into the functional requirement ID that it should be mapped. And we should be able to map this use case ID also in the similar way that matches our BRD, for which kind of a requirement you are building a use case. So use case ID represents the ID of that use case, unique ID of that use case, and then it gives titles. Titles explain what is the use case about. For example, if you are creating a login account, create login account use case, or you're creating a payment module, create payment module use case. So these kind of titles are necessary to understand which use case refers to which feature. And then description, there should be a short description. Suppose you are saying that create user account, it shows that this use case shows the process of creating an user account. So now the description, a small description is needed. And then the actors, what are different actors involved when you are saying the online website, online shopping website, the customer account, admin account, the seller account, and database systems. What are the different systems that you're acting? Payment, all these would be the actors. So and the system as well. So these are the different actors that needs to be mentioned in the template. Let's see the use case template, how it looks. So we are developing a use case for placing online order. So the description would be, this use case describes how a customer, as I said, UC1 is a use case ID. I just mentioned, now, just give you an idea. I have just taken as UC1 as an ID1 for the use case placing online order. When you say UC1 is an online use case ID, and then the description, as I said, this use case describes how a customer can place new order with the website. And what are the actors involved? The actors are the customer, the system, and the seller. So preconditions. So what are the preconditions necessary for this customer to buy anything is, he should log on into the website. Post conditions, once the activity is done, what are the conditions? Okay, the order has to be placed and the customer should get the confirmation message. So these are the basic attributes that you need to mention while writing a use case. And when you're writing any use case, as same we follow for the functional requirement document. As I mentioned in the other video, the functional requirement document, for every functional requirement you write a basic flow, alternate flow, and exceptional flow. Here also in use case, when you're writing any use case, you should be writing a basic flow, and then alternate flow, and the exceptional flow. So what would here we are writing in a use case for placing an online order. So what would be the basic flow? The customer selects the item to order, and then the the system displays the availability of the items, and then the customer enters the following order details, like, what he want to buy, and then the quantity, whether how much quantity he needs, and he submits the order. So the next thing is, system validates the information and checks whether the system is, whether it's available, and how, whether the quantity selected by the customer is available or not. And then system submits the order. So once the system submits the order, the seller confirms the order, saying that this order is confirmed with the available quantity. So that's a basic flow. If everything goes well as per the customer need, that's the basic flow. And then when if you and the alternate flow would be when the customer enters invalid information. If the customer enters invalid information, the system should display a message. Suppose it can be a quantity, or whether the address where he has given, that pin code would not be in the service area of that seller providing his services. So some invalid information would be there. In such scenarios, the system should display an error message saying that the information provided is not valid, and please give the valid information. That would be an alternate flow. And exceptional flow is, sometimes we see the system is down, like when you want to open any website in that Amazon or a Flipkart or whatever maybe, sometimes we see there is a slow response, and sometimes we get a message saying that, oops, try after some time. So exceptional flow is that when the user is not able to access the system at all. So it could be one exceptional flow which I have written, and you can imagine many other exceptional flow in this way and write as per your requirement. So this is a template which can be used for the use cases that are being built. So let's see few examples of use cases. As I said, when when you're designing any online website like Amazon, search would be one use case where the customer wants to search the product based on the gender or based on the brand or age, whatever maybe. So that would be one use case. And compare, he wants to compare between different products that are available from different brands, and then he can buy the product and he can return the product. These are the different use cases which you can imagine. And then ERP is a large applications that are being used for the that are being used by the organizations for their accounting or employee data management, supply chain management, capacity planning, logistics, everything. So in that case, if we take a human resource ERP, the different use cases we can think about hiring, and then resume research and employee promotion, employee onboarding, resignation, or all these things which we can think of when we use HRM systems. And then CRM systems are basically used to get in touch of the customer and to analyze the customer's analytics and everything. So the different use cases in this scenario would be viewing the emails, the different emails that they have sent to the customers and the responses, the customer surveys, how they are handling the sales and everything would be that. And then the creating of various reports like say pre-sales, forecast reports, revenue reports, or these kind of reports can be used. These are different use cases that you can be thinking while building these kind of systems. And now comes what is user stories. So user story is a small unit of work told from the user perspective when we are explaining a desired functionality. So basically, user stories are used in Agile methodology. As we all know, Agile is customer centric. We give more importance to the customer satisfaction while delivering in a smaller sprints frequently and getting the feedback from the customer. So here, what do we do is we break down a big feature into smaller user stories which are written from the user perspective, so that we can deliver it to the customer very soon and we get the feedback from the customer. So they are written in a non-technical terminology that is understand by the developers and the business and the users, so that this enables them to build conversations among them and to understand what is actually needed by the customer. So this helps in collaborative effort, collaborative development, and understanding of the need of the customer. So basically user stories are written in while writing the user story, you should also consider who is our customer and what will satisfy them and what do they need. These are the three things that you should keep in mind while writing the user stories. And the user story is divided into into three parts, as we say the syntax of the user story. Who is our customer? Okay, who are our target customer, who is gonna use this feature. So as a definite it shows as a type of the user, means that who is the user as a customer or as a developer. So for whom this user story is going to be benefited, and what it shows that what is the goal that we are trying to achieve from fulfilling this user story, and why we are doing this, the reason why do we need this. For example, when I say, if you take any online education portal like Udemy or Orally, whatever maybe. So when you're doing in that perspective, if you're if I'm uploading my videos or my lectures over there as an online as an online tutor, I want to able to establish videos on the website so that these can be accessed by the students over there. As an online tutor, I want to enable the comment session so that I can have a direct interaction with the students. As an online tutor, I should be able to edit my videos so that I keep the lectures as on date. So these are the different user stories that can be thought of when you are building an online educational system, online educational portal. When you think from the student perspective, we can say that as an online student, I need to be write something in the comment section so that I can interact with the lecture professor. So these are the different formats of these are the formats of the user stories that we follow. And we have um, um, another where we have another doubt saying that what are the requirements and what are the user stories, are both same. So requirements, so let's try to discover this. We have four differences between the requirements and the user story. When we say requirements are basically written from the system perspective, that is the solution perspective. What it means that I'm going to build a online banking system where we can transfer the funds online, we can uh, uh, we can pay the bills online, and these are the solutions that can be provided or that can be solved by building this particular solution. So this is basically from the system perspective, whereas user story is from the user perspective. It says that if I'm going to suppose the user has an inconvenience in that user has an inconvenience of submitting the documents in fees physically in going to the office. So I can so as a customer, I need to be able to submit the documents online so that it reduces the effort of going to particular office, bank or something. So it is written from the user perspective. Requirements are basically used in traditional methodology like waterfall methodology, spiral methodology, whereas user stories are used in agile methodology. But nowadays we see when they use the hybrid variety of agile and waterfall, we tend to write user stories, even that hybrid mode of work, hybrid methodology as well. Requirements or one-time elicitation, in traditional approaches, we used to have 2 months of time for that, using various elicitation techniques and gathering the requirements and freezing them at once, and saying that these are the requirements that we are gonna develop, and we are gonna deliver the feature to the customer after 3 or 4 months. This was one time elicitation technique. Whereas user stories or collaborative effort, where they are written from the user perspective. And as I said, these user stories help in collaborative discussion, saying that as a customer, I want to do this, so it gives a scope of discussion why this is needed to the customer, what better we can do for the customer. And it's a collaborative effort, and it helps in it gives a continuous elicitation which are written from the user perspective, so that they tend to have a better user satisfaction or customer satisfaction. So requirements are basically owned by business analysts as a business, because in the start of the project, the business analyst used to build the BRDs and FRDs, and he owns those requirements. But in user stories, there is a continuous collaboration with product owner, the customer, business analyst, and everyone. So there is a group ownership, saying that everyone feels that this requirement is sorry this you need this need to be fulfilled. So these are the things that we need to achieve to fulfill this user story, so that it is a group ownership that is to have in the user story. And how do we ensure that we write a good user story? So invest criteria, we use independent. I stands for independent. It means that the story with when there is a big feature and we divide that feature, we break down that feature into the user stories. It means that we have each story should not dependent on the other story. So it makes sure that um, uh, uh, that story should be to make sure that story is not dependent, so that we are not delaying that story, and there are no other blockers that makes this story stop but from developing further. So we should make sure that it is independent. And uh, negotiable is that, it should be the story should be a in the form, the story should be able to generate the discussions between the product owner, the developers, and the customers. And it should be flexible, that when you're talking about what needs to be achieved, you should be able to change that. You should be able to change that story as per the it meets the needs of the customer. So it should generate the discussions between the product owner and developers and the customer, and you should be able to negotiate and understand what are necessary to uh, achieve the customer success, customer satisfaction. Sorry. For example, when you are building a payment module, you have enabled different modes of payment in that. Okay, you have Visa card, Amex card, and then Mastro and everything. When you're when you're trying to put this payment module, suppose you think there is an Amex card which needs another layer of security that needs to be implemented. And if that is the case, you maybe that user story might not be able to complete in one sprint. That there would be a possibility. So it should enable it should you should be able to negotiate and with the product owner about all these features and then the concerns, and arrive a solution that is satisfied by the customer. Next is valuable. The user story which you provide should give a business value. A small part of the whatever the story that you are developing, that should be valuable for the customer. If not a single user story, when they are built up into a feature, that entire feature should be provide value to the customer. Estimatable. So the story you should be able to estimate that, like what how much time it might take for you to complete, whether the story can be completed and shipped in the given time. So you should be able to estimate the user story. And then small, it should be small enough that the user story is completed in that particular sprint. When the user story is committed, you should be able to complete in that particular sprint. And next, testable. You should be able to test that user story, so that the developed user story is completed, and it is providing the value that has been promised to the customer. So you should so these are the different things that you need to consider while writing a user story. So whether the use case and user story are same. Now we have learned about user story and use cases. What do you think about that? Whether the use case and user story are same? Before I move on to the next slide, in this small time, I would request you all to comment in our comment sessions whether the use case and user story are same. Okay. So the use case and the user story, though they sound similar, but they are not same. Okay, they might be sounding similar or same, use case and user story, as use, though both are written from the user perspective. So we say use case, and yeah, even the user story is written from the user perspective, but they are not same. They have there is a big difference between the use case and the user story. User story defines the user needs. It defines a smaller need of the user. For example, a user wants to do online amount transfer. So that is a small need of the user. Where he wants to transfer amount from one account to the another. It just describes that the smaller scope of the requirement. It does not, whereas use case, it refers to the bigger scope, and it actually helps us understanding with of the various interactions of the user with the system. Not only the user, but not only with the system, and maybe this user could be another system as well, this actor could be another system as well. It helps us in understanding the entire process. Now, suppose you are building a online shopping website. What are the various systems involved and how the user interact with the system? Are there any other systems interacting with this particular system? So this the use case describes the entire function, the whole picture of the system. So it gives a larger scope, whereas user story just concentrates us on a smaller scope. When you're writing a user phase, you will be able to visualize the entire process, step by step process. When these process is being followed, what is the end goal that is coming up? You would be able to visualize this, and you would be able to identify what are the different actors involved in this process. So it gives the overall picture of the system, and whereas user story helps us in understanding only that small need or particular need of the user. So let's see a practical example of this use case and user story example. um, So I have, given I have done an online website or shopping website. So we have the stick diagrams shows us actors over here, and then the rectangular box represents the system, and these are the different use cases. The oval represents the use cases. So when we say actor, the customer is a general actor. Under that, you can have a new customer and existing customer, different actors, but in general we call them as a customer. So I have given two other actors for the generalization: new customer and then existing customer. So for in order to in order to do any online website shopping, first the customer needs to register, and then he it should be an admin need to register, and then the customer needs to log in. He needs to view items and then add to the cart and then purchase the items. So when he logins, verify username and password is an inclusive in the sense, unless and until this action happens, this action cannot happen. Okay, unless and until you log in, then only you can then only it verifies the username and password. So these are the inclusive. And then view items are like extend. You can add items, you can change items, or you can cancel the items. You can just view items. These things can happen without this viewing item as well. Okay, so these are the extents. And then add cart. So once it is done, you need to add the cart. And then purchase items. In the purchase items, once you have purchased, you need to do the payment. There are different modes of payments which I have shown, that debit card, COD. So these are the same inclusive things. Unless and until you purchase and the payment is going to done, then only these things will be enabled. I mean, you can complete them through those actions. So what is the what is the admin doing over here? He needs to register. Once the order is placed, he need to manage the order and then process the order. So this shows the entire process of the online shopping system. Whereas when you say here you have different use cases like registering use case, viewing the use case, purchasing the items, and under the purchasing items, the payment, more different payment options available. So this shows the entire system, how the how the online shopping is carried out by the user. When it comes to the user story, Okay, when it comes to the user story, it shows, for example, now we know the use case. You want to write a user story for login module. Sorry, login. So as a new site user, I need the ability to create a username that is not my email address so that I can have an identity of this site. So it is this user story is just describing the requirement, the need of that login feature. That's it. Okay, it's not giving us the entire picture as we have seen in the use case. Okay, this is for that particular login. What is the how, it just satisfies the particular requirement of the customer. As a new site user, I need the ability to create secure password of 15 characters so that I have a private account. As a site user, I need the ability to reset my password from the standard login screen so that I can access my account if I forgot my password. So these are the things. This shows the user story describes the smaller scope. It just describing the particular requirement or particular need of the customer. Whereas the use case is giving us a broader picture. It shows the entire process of that particular system, what is happening. And from when you're writing a user story from accessibility point of view, as a developer, I need to make sure color ratios are correct so that my website is accessible to users with visual impairments. So this is from the accessibility point of accessibility point of view. As I said, when you're writing the user story, you need to know as a user, type of the user, and what is the need and why are you writing it. So who, what, and why are needed, and based on those inputs, you should be able to write the user story. That's all, friends. Hope this session has given you a clear idea of what is a user story, use case, and the templates we use, and how do we write the use case and user story. If you have any doubts, please comment us below so that we can reach out to you and try our best in solving your doubts. Thank you.